Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of January 6th, 2020. On the show today, the news and some new surveys Disney's been sending out. In our main segment, Jim and I preview what's going on in Disney theme parks in 2020. Let's get started by bringing in the man who's currently recording a series of Where's Waldo audiobooks. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
Not a challenging assignment. It basically consists of me going, there he is, top of page 35, next to the organ grinder. To be honest, to me, it seems to take a lot of fun out of the books. So
I thought you'd just go by reading, starting at the top of the left page and going to the bottom right and just saying Penguin, Giant Suit, Hot Dog Cart.
See,
Waldo. And then
I should have thought of that. By the way, folks, a quick sidebar here. We're recording this on January 1st, 2020. We should be watching the Tournament of Roses, but no, we're doing this, which makes me think of perhaps the most famous New Year's Eve, and that, of course, was December 31st, 1999. Where there was all that fear of the Y2K stuff and the fact that the power grid was possibly going to collapse. And I came across this great story in Cleaning the Kingdom, Insider's Tales of Keeping Walt Stream Spotless. That's the book that Ken Pellman and Len Barron put together. But they talk about Disney wanted to prep its guests, and that day they had 80,000 people come up to Disneyland just to have them ready just in case the power grid did collapse. So how they did this, Len, is they gave everybody a glow stick.
Don't lose this.
Isn't that kind of the equivalent of everybody who's in the Donner Party as they're getting ready to go on the Oregon Trail? It's like, here, take this meat tenderizer. You may not need it.
Here's some marinade. I mean body lotion.
There we go.
I think the glow sticks were one idea after, should we give everyone glow-in-the-dark safety vests? And they're like, probably too expensive. What's the cheapest thing we could do here?
But I love the fact that they evidently had emblazoned on all of them, Happy New Year 2000, we think.
Wave this if we can't find you.
There we go.
All right, Jim, let's do a shout-out to subscribers over at disneydish.bandcamp.com. Thanks to new subscribers CT Believer, Emily P., and Sally in Europe. And longtime subscribers Sir Scooter, Dave K., and Ray K. Did you know, Jim, when it opened in 1998, the Kona Cafe's signature breakfast was tuna toast. But early one morning shift at the restaurant, Emily and Sally misheard tuna toast as Tonga toast, and nobody knew what that was. So they had to improvise right then and there. Ray said, "This is bananas," and a legend was born. True story, Jim. True story.
Oh, I'm just shocked about how much I learn out of this individual segment.
We're going to write a book one day just on these things that we know.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim, let's do the news real quick. Jim, we'll start off with a Disney Cruise Line comment from our friend Allie. And I'll segue into this by saying I've heard something similar, and we'll talk about that. So Allie writes, I recently went on a cruise on the Wonder and had a conversation with someone about the plans for the Disney Wish. So this is the ship that's going to launch in 2022. Mm-hmm. They're going to have more concierge rooms than the existing ships. They were told that the Wish was going to have 77 concierge level staterooms. And I think the current number is like in the 20s. And that these concierge level staterooms will vary in size, including larger rooms that don't exist on the Dream and Fantasy. By comparison, there are 44 concierge staterooms on the Magic and Wonder. And the plans for the later ships also include trying to do an entire concierge deck with restricted access and a breakfast lunch hours restaurant in addition to the lounge. So we had talked about this the last time we had looked at the latest concept art for the Disney Wish. We noted, Jim, that there was what looked like an exclusive deck, right? The other thing that I had heard was that in the next long dry dock that the Dream gets, it's going to include an expansion of the concierge rooms to around 75 or so too. And that means almost certainly the concierge lounge is going to have to expand, because if you've ever seen the concierge lounge on the Dream, it can hold maybe a dozen tables.
I was about to say, it's tiny. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's very small, and it's got no windows. So really small for that many rooms. So I'm thinking that what we're going to see here is a more than doubling of the number of rooms, concierge rooms, that are available on the Disney Cruise Line in the next couple of years.
Yeah, makes sense. But we live in the skybox world, and clearly catering to this crowd is yet another revenue stream for the cruise lines.
And speaking of this, I got a survey a couple days ago after my latest trip to the studios, and we'll talk about it because it talks about Disney and income levels. And speaking of surveys, I've got a number of them sent in from readers. Thank you guys all for sending them in. Our pal Kathleen sent in screen caps of a comprehensive survey covering the most relevant aspects of a typical Disney trip. And here's the one that I thought was most interesting that Kathleen sent in. She had a couple. One question was, did you pay for preferred parking located conveniently close to the theme park entrances at the following Walt Disney World theme parks during your visit? So it was Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, and Studios. And the interesting thing is, Jim, the price that they listed for preferred parking was $20 to $25 per day. It's currently $50 per day. So whoever's sending out this survey needs to correct that number, because regular parking is now $25 per day. This question's been around for a while.
Okay.
The other question that they sent to Kathleen that I thought was interesting was this one. Please rate your overall dining plan experience at the Walt Disney World Resort. So excellent, very good, good, just okay, and poor. And that's interesting because, so we're recording this on January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, I don't think this is widely known, but tomorrow Disney's releasing a free dining promotion. Oh. So it'll be January 2nd. It'll be out by the time the show comes out. Mm-hmm. But just covering some very restricted dates in summer. And that tells me a couple of things. One is if this is the only set of dates that they're doing, there's only a handful of dates. If that's what they're doing, then they are really going all in on that rumor that we had heard. I think we talked about this a couple of years ago. Once Galaxy's Edge was fully open, they would really restrict how much free dining was available. And we talked about this on shows, more than a year ago, right? Mm-hmm. But it looks like that's actually happening.
And if you look at the most recent photographs that have been coming in from Disney's Hollywood Studios at 7 o'clock in the. Have you seen that?
7 o'clock, Jim. Those are the late risers. My sister went on New Year's Eve, so yesterday, got there at 3:30, and wasn't the first person in line, but ended up being the first person into the park after that day. So she was like, I think the 12th person in line, but for whatever reason, she's the competitive one in my family. Let's face it. She's got sharper elbows than I do.
Well, the reason I bring up the 7 o'clock time is that's when they open the boarding group, and there's this amazing photograph where it's all of Hollywood Boulevard. I mean, it's packed. It's filled with bodies, but there isn't a single person looking up there. Everyone is face down in their phone trying to get a boarding group, and it's just something out of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I've never seen that many people not looking at theming.
The thing that I found interesting was this. So Linda was having trouble with her My Disney experience yesterday. At 7 o'clock, when the boarding groups opened, she got a result within a minute. But instead of being boarding group 1, that 1 minute of delay, maybe it was 2 minutes of delay, meant that she moved from boarding group 1 to boarding group 79.
Oh.
Which tells you how fast those boarding groups are going in the morning at the studios. So they were all gone within 15 minutes yesterday, I believe. Or yesterday, Christmas Eve. But it looks like the ride had a pretty decent operating day yesterday. It's good they got to the backup boarding groups too.
Okay, so speaking of which, I know you've been keeping very close tabs on how many boarding groups actually have been going out per day.
Yep.
Where do we stand now?
The last couple of days, they got above 180 boarding groups. We still don't know how many people are in a boarding group. I think they've reduced the number of people per boarding group, and the ride is definitely running better. I think the ride is operating near like 2/3 capacity most times now. A couple days this week it didn't have a great day, but in general, like in the 27th, for example, I think the ride didn't actually open till like 8:15. So that wasn't great. And the ride is in general opening half an hour or 45 minutes or so after the rest of the park is open. So they're taking some time in the morning to get the ride prepared. But yeah, they were up around 180 boarding groups. We're through the worst part of the week now. We'll see crowds through the end of the weekend. So this is Monday that the show's coming out. Most of the crowds will be gone by today. Yeah, so overall not bad.
Okay, all right. Back to the survey then.
Yeah, I do want to point out one more question that Kathleen got, and this was around shopping. And the question is this: you indicated that you shopped at an off-property location for Disney merchandise. Please indicate whether on-property or off-property locations had better ... And it was vacation keepsakes, amount of inventory available, selection, shorter lines, price value, so price, value of the products, customer service, crowds, unique products, and quality. So the question was, for those things, did on-property or off-property merchandise locations have better things of those? So they're trying to figure out why people shop for Disney stuff offsite. My guess is that it's going to be price on that thing.
That's intriguing that even that revenue stream is being eyeballed. It used to be that's like, oh, by the way, if you get head over to the outlets, you can find the stuff we've remaindered. And now it's like, no, wait a minute.
Why don't we stay on site?
There we go.
I wonder if they'll use something like the new retail spots that are going in at Flamingo Crossing for their own Disney outlets.
That's
an interesting idea.
That is.
Copyright 2020, Len Testa Incorporated. Yeah, exactly. All right. Super listener Hunter heard us talk about Wild About Safety shorts, the Wild About Safety short films that we talked about a little bit ago. And the next day, Jim got this survey from Disney. So it's a bunch of questions around how or where did you see anything about the Disney Wild About Safety program or the safety messages or illustrations about it, and it lists a different set of sites for it. So I'm not saying that Disney is somehow listening through Hunter's Alexa to what he's playing in the background. I'm sure it was just a coincidence that he got this survey the next day.
I'm your best friend, Santa.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
This isn't creepy at all.
No.
Total coincidence.
Total coincidence.
All right. We got another survey. So OG listener Danielle sent in a tech-related survey from Disney. And we've seen a lot of these questions before, but some were newer, updated. And I want to call out a couple of questions that were new. One of them was, what new technologies are you planning to buy in the next 12 months? So it's asking whether you're looking to buy like a smartphone or a virtual reality headset or an Amazon Echo or things like that. So that's interesting because Disney's trying to figure out what new trends are coming up that they need to know about. So instead of asking, what have you bought? It's what are you planning to buy? The other questions that were interesting, they asked you, what features of your smartphone do you use the most? So we all know, Jim, that nobody uses a phone anymore as an actual phone.
Oh, God, no.
Right? You text or you play games on it or you surf the web. And then the other question was, what kinds of things are you comfortable buying on your smartphone? But here's the two things that I think are interesting. There was a question on, did you use Bluetooth while you were in the parks? Now, why would they ask that question, Jim?
When you're in the park environment and you're using your smartphone, between managing your trip, as in, where am I going to next? Retail opportunities, food, the quick service program, and that sort of thing. Where would Bluetooth come into play with that?
So my thinking is that because Bluetooth is much more short range than Wi-Fi, it's used for location tracking or, being very specific about where you are.
Okay. And wasn't it the Fast Pass deck we saw back in the day where they were actually going to be tracking where crowds were within the park? And they were talking about how, for example, if they saw that there was an unusually large conglomeration of people in, say, Frontierland around Splash Mountain or that sort of thing.
Yeah, they would roll out entertainment.
Entertainment, likewise beverage carts, that sort of thing.
Right,
So,
yeah, that's from that presentation.
maybe this application finally being utilized in the park. I mean, especially, again, 2021, 50th anniversary, we're going to see crowds like we've never seen before.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe this is, something that Disney's fielding or considering rolling out ahead of that.
That's what I'm going with. Some sort of fine-grained identification used for pushing marketing messages through Bluetooth. So there's one more question I thought was interesting on this, and it was, to what extent do you personally agree or disagree with each of the following statements when it comes to technology in general? And so it's from strongly agree to strongly disagree. And there are a couple of choices in here that might point to the future of how Disney's planning on using technology. One of them is this. I prefer to use self-checkout registers when they're available in retail stores. So do you strongly agree or do you strongly disagree? Or where along the spectrum do you find with that? And we know Disney's filed patents before for use of self-checkout stores in theme park environments. And this is to match what Amazon is doing with Amazon Go stores, where you walk in and there's some combination of facial technology and scanning in, where Amazon basically tracks what you're picking up and putting in your basket, so that when you leave, you don't interact with it and with anyone else. There's literally no checkout. You just walk in, pick up what you want, and leave. And I've done this before a couple of times. But there are a couple of other questions. I'm comfortable using facial recognition on devices other than a smartphone. So, for example, for airport boarding, which some airlines are doing now, right? So I think, is it JetBlue that's doing it in New York? They're doing facial scanning to do airport boarding. Also, to recognize VIPs at sporting events is another example that they gave. That's interesting.
Well, the other part of this that's not listed as examples here, I don't know if you've heard about what's going on at Universal Beijing. They partnered with Alibaba, and the notion is that at that Universal Park, they are going to be using facial recognition for retail, for quick service, that sort of thing. I mean, the whole notion of you don't have to put down your magic band. You just, hey, your face, okay.
They just know who it is.
Yeah, so very interesting that Disney's sort of kicking the tires on that one.
Yeah, and we all know Disney has a facial recognition system that they use in the parks, and it's supposed to be very sophisticated. I don't know if it's as up to date as what China's got, because China's got some really, really, really advanced facial recognition stuff for surveillance that they're implementing on scales much, much larger than Disney World. All right, Jim, another survey. Allison S. sent in a survey about the vacation booking process on Disney's website. And I'll talk about why this is interesting after I read the questions. The first one is, which of the following statements best describes the Disney resort hotel that you were initially looking to book? And the options are, I knew the exact resort I wanted, I had a few resorts I was considering, or I was considering all the resorts. And that's interesting, Jim, because a couple of travel agents who I'm not going to name sent in to me a Disney survey asking clients why they booked using a travel agent rather than the Disney website. So what I think is happening here is Disney's trying to figure out how to get more consumers to book directly through Disney to avoid paying those 10% commissions to travel agents. And so they're trying to figure out what needs the current Disney website isn't addressing the consumer have. So the other questions were on this survey were, did you book the resort you were initially considering? Yes or no? Did you consider booking a non-Disney resort? And then this one, I think, is the most important. Why did you book your tickets when you booked your hotel on the Disney website? So in other words, it's why didn't you shop around for better ticket deals? So the first answer that they list is peace of mind. And I think this is similar to the Disney dining plan. We know that if you do the number crunching, the Disney dining plan doesn't make sense for lots of families. But the number one reason that people get it, they say, is peace of mind knowing that their food is prepaid on their vacation. So that's literally the first answer on this survey question about tickets too. But the other options were, I wanted to book fast passes right away. I got a discount for booking tickets, so that's why I did it, or then to get credit card rewards. So they're trying to figure out why people are booking tickets when they book their hotel. Is this so they're making sure that they capture every bit of ticket sales that they've got?
For most of the people who listen to this podcast, they're pros. They've been to Disney a bunch of times. They know the rope, so to speak. But face it, there's a large part of humanity that is intimidated by the Disney.
It's one of the most complicated vacations you could possibly book.
Circling back to a Hollywood Boulevard full of people face down on their phone getting boarding groups.
Where boarding groups are available for exactly 15 minutes a day.
Yeah,
sure.
Just this is why so many people staring down the barrel of, well, I want to take my family to Walt Disney World, and all of these choices, or dining that has to be booked 180 days out. This is why they run into the arms of travel agents.
It's exactly why. So I think I told you the story. Actually, no, I haven't told you this one yet. So I was at Magic Kingdom a couple days ago, waiting for the park to open, and the people behind me had just got off the plane and came directly to Walt Disney World, to the Magic Kingdom. So their bags were being dropped off by Magic Express. They didn't even go to the room. They got up at the resort and walked to the Magic Kingdom or whatever they did. So I asked them, what they had booked in terms of fast passes and restaurants. Absolutely nothing. So they were coming during the busiest time of the week, the year. They knew that it was going to be crowded, but I don't think they realized how crowded it was, and they thought that they would just get dining reservations as they went along. You have a better chance of catching wildlife and grilling it on Main Street than you do actually getting a restaurant reservation this week. But yeah.
Did you at least talk to them? Look, just go back to the airport.
No. I mean, there was nothing in any of the parks, but there were a few things. So Disney Springs had a lot of lunch reservations available. Okay. The resorts were actually remarkably uncrowded during the day because everyone was out in the park. So I suggested to them Wilderness Lodge.
Okay.
Or Trails End, actually. Trails End has brunch on weekends.
That's right. Yeah.
It was fantastic. I actually went the day after I suggested it. Laurel and I went. Okay. And it was exquisite. I mean, where else can you get a donut bar and fried chicken in the same meal?
Oh, you're not making my New Year's resolution easy, Len.
Any easier, I know. It was delicious. It was so good. Anyway, another survey question. This is from the always fabulous Jeannie. So this was, she went to the Magic Kingdom and got a survey about dining questions. So I want to actually ask our listeners this question. What types of restaurants were you hoping to find more of, but couldn't? So here are your choices, listeners. Pan-Asian or sushi, steakhouse, Greek or Mediterranean, a New York-style deli, gourmet hamburgers, a pub-type of restaurant serving handcrafted microbrews, pizza. Like, who goes to the Magic Kingdom and says, I can't find pizza? That's strange.
Well, again, you have to have the guide dog. You have to show the guide dog. Look, find that. So,
right. Mexican, vegetarian or vegan, breakfast food, Southern Italian, so featuring traditional red sauce pastas and grilled dishes, which tells me that someone who came up with the survey did not know that Tony's Town Square existed, or that they did and didn't consider it actual Italian. Anyway, barbecue, a farm-to-table type restaurant featuring super fresh, locally grown ingredients, tapas, where the whole table shares a number of smaller appetizer-sized dishes, Brazilian steakhouse, or other. That's a really wide range, isn't it?
I agree. And specifically that somebody went to the Magic Kingdom and got this survey.
How would you fit a farm-to-table themed restaurant in the Magic Kingdom? Are there any Disney characters that work on a farm?
Well, there's Clara Cluck, but it kind of opens in an entirely unfortunate storyline, Len. You want eggs? Hang on.
Yeah, Which Disney characters would you have in a farm-to-table type restaurant?
Oh, God. Whenever I look at a survey like this, it's like, okay, what's coming off the table to make room for this?
Okay, so you mentioned that, and that's where I was going with this. So all this week that I've been in the parks, the Tomorrowland Terrace restaurant has been closed, and that's super unusual for this time of year. Like, why wouldn't that be open? And I'm thinking that's got to be a prime opportunity. Because, I mean, they're using half of it for fireworks, dessert party viewing spaces, right? But the other half of the restaurant literally isn't being used. And we know that Disney is now willing to demolish huge chunks of a park to provide multi-story dining / entertainment venues, because they're doing that at Epcot, right? They could demo that area and build a 2-story restaurant right there. It fits in Tomorrowland's theme and still gives you dedicated viewing spots for those fireworks. In fact, they could charge more for the 2nd-story viewing areas, right? Because it's better view.
Absolutely. Mind you, every so often they have to clear a path. Tinkerbell's coming in, but beyond that, enjoy your cupcake. So, but wow, no, that's an excellent idea, and more to the point, that hell, I remember back in '94 when they were proposing building the Astronomers Club there, where again, the whole notion of a theme dining in that space. But yeah, that honestly, that is one of the most underutilized pieces of real estate in the parks. And no, that would be an absolute killer spot for a decent multi-story restaurant.
All right, so this is our question for listeners this week. You can post it to us on Twitter or social media. What kind of restaurant are you hoping to find more of in the Magic Kingdom? All right, Jim. So in addition to our listeners, I actually got a survey after one of my visits to Disney's Hollywood Studios a couple days ago. And this one was huge. It was almost 100 questions. I'm not going to go through all 100 questions. I will pull out the big ones here.
Okay.
So question number 87 was, which of the following would have been your preferred choice in order to ride Star Wars Ride of the Resistance? So 3 choices. I prefer a virtual queue that allows me to do other things in the park, even if I can't choose when I will ride. Or a combination of limited Disney FastPass Plus selections and a traditional standby line. Or I prefer everyone wait in a traditional standby line, even if I have to wait a long time. That's interesting.
No, absolutely. Which tells you a lot about what's going on in guest relations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So what would you pick on that one? Virtual queue, combination of fast pass and a traditional line, or that everyone wait in a standby line? Because I asked Laurel this question, and I'll tell you her answer when we're done.
I just don't know if you can make this omelet. It looks like the virtual queue really has to be the way to go, because if you go with the traditional line and you have an attraction like this with that level of operational issues,
yeah,
and you have to dump the queue, 2 and 3 times a day, rather than, okay, let's do a cold stop. Oh, we fixed this tech. Think about just having to hand out that many, fast passes to come back. The manpower you have to dedicate to this issue. How did Laurel land, though?
Laurel said she preferred a combination of fast pass and traditional standby line. So basically, run it like you do every other headliner. But your point, with the ride's current operational difficulties,
Yep.
where it's not running at 100% capacity, you run into that problem of having to satisfy everyone with a fast pass, and then the people that are left in the traditional standby line are looking at possibly multi-hour waits to ride. Yeah. So I think to your point, until this thing is running at 100% capacity and the popularity dies down, we're going to see virtual queue boarding groups for a long time. And I expect that for at least the next couple of months. I would be shocked if Disney switched over to FastPass anytime soon.
No, I think you're dead on, which is why in California that Spider-Man ride can't open fast enough.
Oh, right. Yeah, we'll talk about that in our preview. All right, so one more question that I thought was interesting was this. They asked a household income question, and it was this. Please indicate your total annual household income in U.S. dollars, and there were 13 choices, one of which was prefer not to answer. So 12 categories. So the first one was under $40,000. So that encapsulate that one choice under $40,000. I cross-referenced, by the way, each of these categories with the Census Bureau's household income by percentiles. So that one choice under $40,000 represents 32% of American households. So right off the top, if you're in the bottom third of American households by income, Disney lumps you all into one group. The next choice is $40,000 to $59,999. Then the next one after that is up to $80,000, so $60,000 to $80,000. That one, up to $80K, represents 60% of American households. So remember, there are 12 choices. The first 3 cover 60% of Americans. Disney doesn't care. Okay, so the first 5 choices up to the next choice is so it's 40 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 to 100, 100 to 125. Those first 5 choices up to 125K represent 78% of American households. So we're not even halfway through the choices, and Disney's already lumped the bottom basic 80% of Americans into that. So this is what it means, right? And we've said this for a while. Disney's really concentrating on the top 20% of Americans by household. And this is where they're getting super granular. So the next set of choices subdivide that 20% of Americans into 7 separate categories. So the next choice is 125K to 149K. That only represents about 5% of American households. So 5% of American households get their own choice. Well, remember, 80% of Americans are covered in the first 5 choices. The next choice is 150 to 175,000. That represents 4% of Americans. The next choice is 175K to 200K. That represents 3% of Americans. The 200 to 300,000 choice represents 5% of Americans. So that's actually a fairly wide chunk. But then the top 1.5% of all Americans get their own set of choices. There's one group for 300K to 400K. Again, 1.5% of all Americans. 400K to 500K represents the top 1.5% of all Americans. And then 500K or one more is well within the top 1%. So let me just sum this up. There are as many categories in Disney surveys covering the top 2% of wealthy American households as there are covering the bottom 70% of American households.
To bring things full circle, and you wonder why the Wish is supposedly going to have a deck that's entirely concierge?
Yeah, that's it. Wait, here's why.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
Yeah, but it's really interesting to see it because it tells you the segments that Disney's interested in, right? So my guess is there are probably different marketing messages.
Oh, no doubt. But at the same time, it makes me a little crazy. I mean, again, we've talked about previously on the show the notion of, The carousel at Disneyland that Walt fought, the notion of them raising the price on that. It's like, no, it's 10 cents because everybody has 10 cents. They can get on the carousel. And when I look at the 5,000K, it's like, well, yeah, that category, they can buy their own carousel.
Exactly. You laugh. I'm told that the Christmas entertainment at Golden Oak, so Disney's on-site home community, right? Where I think homes start at 1.5 million.
Oh yes,
and go up. Their entertainment at the for the Christmas festival, somebody brought in a carousel.
Good night, folks.
As one does, right?
There we go.
All right, folks. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim and I talk about what's happening in Disney theme parks in 2020. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
All right, folks. Since we're recording this on January 1st, Jim and I thought it would be fun to take a look at all of the things that are coming up in Disney theme parks in 2020. And Jim, this includes theme parks worldwide, right? We're not just looking at US parks.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That it's worth noting as we get started here that there's some pretty impressive, pretty sizable projects underway at Tokyo Disneyland. I want to say, on April 15th, they're opening their Beauty and the Beast mini land.
Right, we'll talk about that, yeah. So we're doing worldwide stuff, right?
Yeah, and the new Enchanted Castle to Hong Kong, but
it all starts tomorrow, right?
Yeah, well, let's start at the park that started it all, Disneyland, and the film that started it all, Snow White. January 7th, Snow White's Scary Adventure at Disneyland Park goes down for a 5-month-long rehab. This Fantasyland dark ride traumatizes a lot of children, Len, so Disney's going back in and putting a happier ending on this dark ride. Also upgrading effects, that sort of thing. And on the 7th also, we're also going to see Space Mountain and Small World go down so they can remove their seasonal holiday overlays. Jump ahead 10 days, January 17th. And Rise of the Resistance opens at Disneyland Park. And they're applying every lesson that's been learned out in Orlando since since the 5th of December. Same window of time because, January is perceived as winter out in Southern California. So, people are less likely to get on anything that goes out and goes around the rivers of America. So this is when both the Mark Twain and the Columbia will go down for extended rehabs. Same exact day, though, January 17th at Walt Disney World, we get our 3rd annual Epcot International Festival of the Arts underway. And I think, as we mentioned previously, we get 3 brand new films debuting on that same day. We get Awesome Planet at the Land, the Beauty and the Beast Sing-Along, and Canada Far and Wide. And then we go ahead 4 days, January 21st, and this is finally when Haunted Mansion Holiday goes down at Disneyland. As well, we were just talking carousels. This is where King Arthur's Carousel goes down for a lengthy rehab itself. Now, Haunted Mansion, normally what happens is there's like a 3 to 5 week turnaround and the attraction is then open to the public again, and that's not the case. We probably won't see Mansion reopen till almost the summer of 2020, and that's largely because this is such a hugely popular attraction, and the seasonal overlay, Haunted Mansion Holiday, is even more popular. They just haven't been able to do a rehab of size in years. So it's like,
really?
Okay, we got to bite the bullet. We just got past the 50th anniversary celebration of Mansion this past summer. And so it's like, okay, we got to do it. So this is when it goes down. This is when they do years of neglected work. And hopefully we'll see something really special when it comes back online this summer. Other thing worth noting is that Project Stardust, all of the work that had been done at Disneyland to sort of make it that much easier for the crowds that were trying to get back to Black Spire Outpost to make it through the park. We'll see the very last chunk of that, which involves redesigning the entrance to Tomorrowland. They've done some of the work. They'll finish it up after the Christmas crowds go away.
It makes sense.
Now, January 25th through February 8th is the Chinese New Year. And Disney California Adventure, for a couple of years now, has done some special seasonal entertainment offerings in the Pacific Gardens Park section of the park. And that's right next to Pixar Pier these days. And Disney has decided that they're going to take this opportunity to promote the Mulan live-action reboot, which is not going to arrive in theaters till March 27th of this year.
So I didn't know there's a live-action reboot of Mulan coming.
Oh, yeah. The trailer dropped about 2 weeks ago. Well worth seeking out. I forget who I was talking with. They were talking about how they're getting tired of these Disney live-action reboots. Yeah, I mean, I realized Jon Favreau Lion King made over $1 billion, but was it really necessary? On the other hand, he was talking about the fact that he saw this Mulan trailer and he said, that looks great. That's a movie I really want to see.
Speaking of that, when is Jungle Book coming out? The one with the Rock?
Oh, Jungle Cruise. That is actually July of this year. In fact, hang on. Okay. July 24th, 2020. And according to folks at the studio, they honestly believe that this is Disney's next Pirates. That there's potential here between Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt's characters. Likewise, the setting of a whole series of films.
Oh, sure. I mean, you could build a franchise around Dwayne Johnson.
Absolutely.
And Emily Blunt, too, right? I mean,
yep. But, of course, the parks would like proof that it's actually popular before they do any retooling of, the various versions of the Jungle Cruise that are around the globe at this point. But that's definitely something that's under consideration. And while we're talking about Adventureland, late winter of 2020 at Disneyland, the Indiana Jones Adventure closes for a fairly lengthy rehab. In fact, it's been reported that they're doing $300,000 worth of rehab on the effects and that sort of thing on it.
I can't tell whether that's a lot for Disney Imagineering.
These days, it's like, well, we fixed the men's room. Okay, moving on.
Okay, exactly. But Indiana Jones 5 is coming out, right?
Yep, July of next year. And
okay.
And we've already been told that we should expect a significant refresh of the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular out ahead of that. Also, I was talking with a friend in entertainment, and in much the same vein as what they did back in 2008, Disneyland Park, to help promote the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, did this summer-long entertainment program in Adventureland. It was called the Indiana Jones Summer of Hidden Mysteries, but looks like that will be resurrected for Disneyland for next summer. And then February 28th of this year, Disneyland gets a brand new parade. Magic Happens.
Ooh.
When we say brand new, Len, we say brand new. I mean, this will feature floats that celebrate Coco, Moana, Frozen 2, which, by the way, that's was just talking with somebody on the retail side of things. And while Frozen 2 is doing great at the box office, merch is really not moved.
I was going to comment on that because I've been walking around the parks the last couple of days, and it's Christmas season, so everyone's thinking gifts, and there's a ton of Frozen 2 merchandise on the shelves, but I don't see many people wearing it. It's like they all got their original Frozen merch, and that's good enough.
Yeah,
like there wasn't anything specific in this show that or in this movie that they had to have.
Evidently, the comments are that the film itself is fine, but a little dark, and so people are less reluctant, or that much more reluctant to sort of bring that stuff home. At Anna and Elsa's Royal Summer House at Epcot, there's been real pushback from guests, evidently, in regard to they changed out the outfits for Anna and Elsa, so now it's Queen Anna and Elsa is sort of the fifth spirit from the Enchanted Forest, and people are like, no, 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 no. Where's Anna? Where's Elsa? So evidently this is what they've agreed to, but the characters are going to stay in those outfits till about a month after the Blu-ray and DVD of Frozen 2 goes on sale, and then they're reverting to the original Frozen outfits.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Guests want pictures with, the version of Anna and Elsa they like.
All right, so I think it's safe to say then that the pants and the other outfits in Frozen 2 really didn't take off as a merch concept.
You only get one chance to make a first impression. And, that's the thing of people like Elsa in her blue, Ice Queen outfit, and Anna in, you want to make a snowman outfit. So,
all right, they're traditionalists. I get that.
And speaking of tradition, the character that got it started here, Mickey Mouse, finally gets his own attraction on March 4th, 2020, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Yep, and I'm predicting, Jim, that we'll see AP previews of that the last week of February. And the reason is that I understand that cast members are blacked out from the studios that week.
Given what's been going on with Rise of the Resistance, that would be very nice. I feel like a lot of annual pass holders need to be stroked right about now. Speaking of which, of course, there's the second version of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway for California, opening to 2022. And that project is well underway, Len. They've actually flattened the parade storage building out behind Mickey's Toontown, so they can build a brand new show building for the California version of that attraction. 2 days after that, though, on March 6th, Pixar's Onward opens in theaters. And according to Friends in Entertainment, they've begun the casting for chasing down people to play the walk-around versions of the two lead characters in this, Ian and Barley Lightfoot. They're the teenage elf brothers who are in this. But evidently the photo op they're setting up is these two characters and Barley's van, Guinevere. So Anaheim version is going to be located on Pixar Pier, and the Orlando version, they're still scouting a location in Disney's Hollywood Studios. And again, a lot of that has to deal with the fact that what's not going to get in the way of the crowds trying to get back to Rise of the Resistance. Then, tail end of March, we get previews starting for Drawn to Life, the new Cirque du Soleil show.
Right.
That doesn't open till Friday, April 17th.
Right, but I think, but previews start almost a month before that.
Yeah, I've heard from a number of friends that really want to see the first couple of shows of this because there's a lot of stuff they're not sure is going to make it into the finished version.
Oh, so they're going to try a couple of different things?
Yeah. So if you're intrigued as to how sausage gets made from an entertainment point of view, get yourself a ticket to some of the early previews of Drawn to Life.
Oh, yeah, because they'll be trying out different acts that may or may not make it into the final version.
There you go.
It's kind of like listening to the Grateful Dead record songs, trying to figure out which one's going to go on the album. The Grateful Dead, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, very true. And then supposedly the very next day, this is the soft opening of Space 2020.
It has to be by March 21st, 2020, because they said it's going to open winter, and winter ends on March 21st. So it's by this date, the Space 2020, Space 220 restaurant is supposed to open in next to Mission Space in Epcot.
Okay. And then also kind of in the same period, they have to wait for a significant amount of the pathway work and all of the construction fences that are up right now that had to come down in the front of the park.
Yeah.
But after that's done, I guess Spaceship Earth goes down for its reimagining is now a celebration of storytelling.
Right. So we think this is going to happen in the spring. The Spaceship Earth will be down for a very long refurbishment. But to your point, I think a couple of things have to happen. One, they've got to resolve some of the walkway paths in Epcot. So they just opened one, the sort of side walkway in Future World, the bypass. They just opened that a couple days ago when we were in the park. But there's still a ton of walled off acreage in Epcot that needs to be addressed. So I think we're not going to see Spaceship Earth close until they've resolved getting into the park and getting through Future World. So my guess is, first couple months of March. And I think that they're going to wait to close Spaceship Earth until Space 220 is open to give people, it's not exactly the same thing, but to give people something else. And we opened this, and by the way, we closed this. So to keep the number of things sort of even.
That makes sense. And also, you would come across CityWorks Eatery and Poorhouse in Disney Springs. That's also supposed to be opening.
Yeah, this should be open in the sometime in the next couple of months, and that's right next to the NBA experience, and they want that open before the opening of Cirque du Soleil because it's on the corner between NBA experience and Cirque du Soleil. It's the place that people will go before the show for a quick drink, and it'll be the place that people come out and grab a drink afterwards. So I'm thinking like House of Blues is going to see a bump from the new Cirque du Soleil show, as well as this beer themed place at Disney Springs.
Well, that makes sense. Now, what doesn't make sense is, face it, now you and I heard the same thing last year when Epcot Forever opened on October 1st.
Right. We heard it was going to run for a year.
Well, yeah, and that's it exactly. Yet, just this past week, D23 reported that Harmonious, the big new elaborate Epcot nighttime show, is going to be opening in the spring of 2020.
Oh, so that must mean that there must be not great reaction to Epcot Forever.
The joke among Disney managers too, I guess, is that the real name of the show should have been Rivers of Light 2.
You laugh. I was talking to somebody at a lounge, a family who had gotten in and had never been to Disney World before, and the first nighttime show that they saw was Rivers of Light at the Animal Kingdom. So my question was, like, what did you think of it? And they paused and they said, "Are all of the other shows like that?" I said, no, they're not. Not the one, probably the worst of the four. But I said, the one you need to see is Happily Ever After. So I set them on their way for that. So Epcot Forever is not doing well.
No, that evidently it surveys poorly, and you understand the ripple effect there. When it's not getting the buzz that it should, it means that the restaurants immediately around World Showcase aren't doing the business.
Exactly right. No one's staying late for dinner. Wow, that is surprising to me. Okay, it's mildly surprising. We knew that Epcot Forever was trying to do two things. Number one, fan service, right? It was to all of us who really like the original Epcot. They're throwing us a bone and saying that here's your tribute to classic Epcot. But then the second part of it was to sort of preview what's going to happen to Epcot. So the tie-in using a whole new world from Aladdin to think about what's going on. But that's super interesting. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at the surveys.
And I just want to caution folks that, as Len just mentioned with Space 220 having to open March 21st, because that's the beginning of spring, D23, the fact that it said opening in spring, that's a large range of dates. That's March 21st to June 21st.
Yeah, March through June, yeah.
So just be interesting to see where the opening of this new show lands.
Oh, you're right. It's just barely getting better survey responses than Rivers of Light. So Rivers of Light is averaging just under 4 stars out of 5 on our surveys. And Epcot Forever is exactly 4 stars for every age group. Let's see what Happily Ever After is real quick. I think Happily is the highest rated thing.
Okay. I got to tell you, though, having reached out to a friend in operations about this, getting clarification that this was the first that he'd heard of it. And he was sort of, it's like, oh my God, because it's like if we open Harmonious, the closer we get to the summer, we are literally in the middle of building that island in the sky thing that straddles.
Oh, right.
And it's just sort of like, you're going to put a brand new show in. We just cleared, one clog at the front of the park around Spaceship Earth, and now we're going to have this giant clog in the middle of the space that most people travel to get to a nighttime show at Epcot.
Oh, that's right. They're going to have to bring out those construction walls for that as well. Huh.
Just be aware, folks, this is a work in progress, and that there is going to be some pushback, from the folks who actually have to get all this stuff built and ready for the 50th anniversary.
Wow. Okay, so that move up for Harmonious, I think, is going to be sort of the big unreported or lightly reported news right now. It's really because Epcot Forever is not playing well with audiences. To your point, it's polling almost exactly where Rivers of Light is, and really there are two clusters of survey results for the nighttime entertainment. There is Fantasmic and Happily Ever After, which get 4.5 stars or above from virtually every age group that we survey, and then 4 stars, which is about average for all the attractions in those parks for Rivers of Light and Epcot Forever. So it's just average. That's interesting. All right. We learned something there today, Jim, about ourselves, each other.
There's a part of me that I dearly hope D23 is wrong about this, because it's like, I just feel for those poor guys who, have to build the island in the sky and have to be so far along with the steel before, even the harmonious opening and the original harmonious opening in, October of next year. But
yeah.
Anyway, speaking of things potentially opening in the spring of 2020, we have the Black Widow movie opening in theaters May 1st, 2020. They're planning a dedicated meet and greet for this Marvel Cinematic Universe character. It's going to be located in Hollywoodland at Disney's California Adventure, directly adjacent to the Avengers campus. And speaking of which, we do not have a firm opening date on that yet. We just have summer of 2020, but Phase 1 will open with the Spider-Man attraction and the PIM test kitchen.
Oh, the test kitchen. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Now, the big marquee attraction, the Quinjet Adventure, that's not slated for the Avengers campus till the summer of 2021. And in fact, that's, if you remember when Disneyland was celebrating its 50th anniversary and how every park around the globe opened a brand new huge attraction.
Right.
This is going to be California Adventure's huge new attraction for that time. And again, summer of 2020, we have Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. That's basically a clone of the attraction that opened at Disneyland Paris back in July of 2014.
Super popular.
Yep. You had mentioned now the Grand Floridian Walkway.
To the Magic Kingdom, right?
Yeah, so that's the target now, having that ready, up and running by this summer?
So it's my guess. Laurel and I went over to the Grand Floridian a couple days ago to see how construction was progressing there. And so we're interested in two things. One, how far along the walkway and the bridge construction has got. But number two, where specifically that walkway is going to enter the Grand Floridian. So if you recall the map, there's a marina at the tip of the Grand Floridian where there's Narcoossee's, the marina, and then what is it? Sugar Key. What's the building that's there? Conch K is the closest to that tip, but that's actually on a peninsula, and so I don't think the walkway is going to go there. The closest building to the area is Sago K, which is closest to and that and the main building are the closest to the convention center.
Okay.
My guess is, Jim, they're going to bring in the walkway so that the walkway hits the convention center, because from there it's a covered walkway all the way into the main building. So that's where I think the walkway is going to go. Magic Kingdom along the lake to the convention center, and they'll probably have to build a small bridge between the convention center and this walkway. But that's going to be much easier than a larger walkway and longer walkway that goes to like Sago K or something like that.
That's going to be interesting because again, if you think about what goes on in that convention space, the fact that at least a couple of times during the day, that's going to see fairly significant traffic.
Yeah, and so that's what I was trying to figure out. So for the few hundred people that do this, that take this walk per day, how are they going to get to and from their actual rooms? And so that was the other thing we're trying to figure out. By the way, I also walked the area between Fort Wilderness and Wilderness Lodge, and one of the things that we heard for that was that, I don't know if this has been reported, but we're looking at somewhere between 800 and 900 rooms for Disney's new Reflections resort.
That sounds about right, yeah.
So that's about the size of the Grand Floridian. That's large. But has it been reported that they're going to do overwater bungalows or cabins like they have at at Wilderness Lodge?
The only time I heard that possibly bubble up was a phase 2 or phase 3.
Looks like it's phase 1 now.
Wow. Okay. Well, again, these have been killer revenue streams at both Wilderness Lodge and Polynesian Village, so it's not really a surprise. To pivot back though to Epcot quick, have you heard about this plan for remember those character greeting things they had on Innovations West?
Right. Now that those buildings don't exist, they have to move the character greetings around, right?
I had a friend reach out because I guess further on down the line, these things are going to be incorporated into the Play Pavilion. But, the Play Pavilion, you'd think would be coming online in 2020, but it's still got 2021 opening. But they seem to have hit upon an idea that they want to kind of do a dry run on. And it's that you would actually walk up to the old Wonders of Life Pavilion, but not actually go in. Remember how the overhang outside there?
Right. Yeah. When you walk in, there's an overhang that you go through to get into the actual.
Yeah. I guess what they're discussing is literally putting some temporary, putting some backdrops, some propping in there, and create a temporary meet and greet space.
Sure.
While the pavilion itself is being finished up. Speaking of meet and greets, we should let folks know that they're beginning site prep and survey work for the Cherry Tree Lane project.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've heard this is the Mary Poppins attraction. I'm doing attraction in air quotes.
Well, yeah. But this is...
I've heard this has been cut back.
Oh, yeah. As of right now, people really need to be ready for what this is going to be, which is basically Anna and Elsa's Summer House 2.
Oh, really? It's going to be a meet and greet.
Yeah, but a very elaborate, very well done meet and greet. But, the argument, at least in Imagineering, is the Summer House has 3 different sets of Anna and Elsa's.
Yeah, and it keeps the lines very moderate.
It does. But the argument is how many Marys and Jacks are we actually going to need? Mary Poppins, the original was made in 1964. Mary Poppins Returns, fine film, didn't do the business that the company necessarily expected. But it's like, is there really going to be a need for 3 of these? That I guess the argument is, can we just set it up for 2 and hope that...
All right, Jim, here's my prediction for this.
Okay.
Right, okay. You know that I've been watching The Mandalorian on Disney+,
Yep.
right? And season 1 is concluded.
Mm-hmm.
In the opening episode of season 2, I'm going to reveal some spoilers here. In the opening episode of season 2, we reveal that the Mandalorian has stashed Baby Yoda at Epcot's UK Pavilion for safekeeping while he goes on his adventures. So you'll find a Mandalorian / Baby Yoda character greeting at the Epcot's UK Pavilion. Massively popular, will draw people to that end of the park and away from the construction in Future World. You heard it here first, Jim. I can't reveal my sources.
What's kind of startling is you don't know how close you are to the actual truth.
It's going to be. I got to say, I spoke with someone, and I can't mention who, in the industry who told some excellent stories about Baby Yoda. I can't talk about them on the air, but because it will tell you know exactly who it was.
Yeah.
But some fascinating stories about the depths that they went to, or the lengths that Disney went to keep the whole thing secret.
Oh God, yeah. But now that the bat-eared cat creature, whatever Yoda is out of the bag, the very same folks who did the Star-Lord Peter Quill Baby Groot meet and greet at the Walt Disney Presents One Man's Dream at the studio are, It's like, look, season 2 of The Mandalorian will be running in the fall of 2020.
Okay, so we have to wait a year basically for it to come back. Okay.
Yeah, but the notion is that, look, this lends itself. I mean, the Peter Quill thing with Baby Groot was popular. This will have lines out the door, and that we.
Oh, it'll be a whole different thing. Yeah. Can you imagine if they do an animatronic Baby Groot that you can hold that does things? Oh,
that would be killer. But starting in the fall of 2020, we are going to see Disney Plus properties popping up in the parks. I mean, for example, in the fall of 2020, we have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series debuting on Disney Plus. And to support these 6 episodes that they're making, they're going to have these characters doing meet and greets at the Adventure Campus at Disney's California Adventure. The Walt Disney World version is still being sorted out because of the Universal Master Licensing Agreement. Likewise, November 25th, 2020, we have the next Walt Disney Animation Studios project coming out, Raya and the Last Dragon. And we were talking about the Paradise Gardens Park section of California Adventure. That's where they're looking to do a meet and greet there. The meet and greet for Orlando, they're talking about doing something for China. But at the same time, there's been discussions about, well, do we put that in before or after Wonders China, the seamless Circle Vision 360 show opens? Beyond that, I've been told that the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel will be far enough along by the fall of 2020 that they're going to be bringing carefully recruited groups of cast members through to test the 2-day cruise experience. They really, really, really want to make sure that all parts of this work before guests start getting in there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially at those rates, you got to make sure it goes absolutely smooth.
And the other thing, on the heels of this past summer with Galaxy's Edge, the pressure is on for the Tron Light Cycle Power Run. Likewise, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. So I was just told this by a veteran Imagineer. It's like, because it's so crucial for the promotion of the 50th anniversary that these attractions work and, it can run, 16, 18 hours a day, that sort of thing.
Right.
Don't be surprised if they are soft opening by December of next year.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. It's just one of these things where it's like, you and I both heard the stories about how people actually put off their Disney World vacations because they couldn't be told when exactly Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was opening, or for that matter, when Rise of the Resistance would be opening. So it's like, that is the new mantra. It's like, this thing opens on time. Hell, they open early. We're not going to have that happen again.
Okay, that makes sense.
That pretty much brings us to, mind you, both of those attractions really won't be fully open to the public till 2021. Again, Disney World's 50th anniversary. But again, there's a lot of other stuff going at the same time. We've got that brand new 12-story DVC unit that's being built next to the Disneyland Hotel, 350 rooms. They're building on top of the old on-site laundry that's going to be torn down and shortly, and hotels going up there.
Oh, so SEPREP hasn't started yet.
Yeah, so we're going to have a lot to talk about in 2020 into 2021, and
oh yeah, tons of stuff going on. We didn't even mention the hotel room refurbishments that are going on at Walt Disney World. Mm-hmm. So we know that All Star Music rooms are now getting the refurbishments that are happening at movies and at Pop. Saratoga Springs is supposed to get a huge redo, and it's about time for that as well. Beatrix, the sort of upscale Panera restaurant, I think might open in 2020 at Disney Springs.
Okay, yeah.
I said it's going to be better than that. I undersold it, but
okay.
And also we should have a date for the Disney Genie app sometime in 2020.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that too. Lots of stuff to talk about, Jim.
That it is.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the Disney Dish show today. Please head on over to disneydish.bandcamp.com, where you'll find exclusive shows never before heard on iTunes. We're produced fabulously by Aaron Adams, who's giving architecture tours of Essex House and the Marlin at next week's Miami Beach Art Deco Weekend Festival in beautiful Miami Beach, Florida. Don't tell anyone, but Aaron's hosting the after party at the Versace Mansion, which you all knew. Use the code word Aaron sent me at the gate to get in. Also, please go onto iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We'll see you on the next show.